With us this morning is Roger Stone, one of the most colorful, an advisor to Richard Nixon when he was in college, an advisor to Donald Trump in the last election. Good morning, Roger Stone. How are you this morning?
John, I am delighted to be with you.
We're calling you to find out on a Sunday morning what's going on in Washington. How do you see things?
Well, this was an extraordinary week, as you know. The critics of Donald Trump in the deep state and the Democratic Party and their handmaidens in the mainstream media are trying desperately to reinflate the Russian collusion balloon. And it's not working. There is still no evidence that's been turned up by either the special counsel, Robert Mueller, or the House or Senate Intelligence or Judiciary committees that show actual collusion, conspiracy, coordination with the Russians. It literally does not exist. And now I think that Mr. Mueller is out trying to euchre the president into some kind of process crime, perjury or obstruction of justice, something relating, to either the firing of General Flynn or the firing of FBI Director Comey. I mean, you cannot underestimate the deep animus of the two-party establishment for Donald Trump and their resolve to remove him no matter what.
Has this always happened in politics, or is it more prevalent lately with fake news and with social media? What do you think, Roger?
I think it's more this president because he is such an anti-establishment figure, because his thinking so threatens the two-party duopoly and the elites of both parties who pretty much had the run of their country for 30 years. And what have they given us? Endless war where our national interests are not clear, erosion of our civil liberties through the Patriot Act and through metadata collection on the American people, reading our emails, our text messages, monitoring our phone calls, massive debt and spending. You've talked a lot about this, and a huge deficit we're leaving for future generations, trade policies that seem to be exporting all of our jobs, immigration policies that make some of our neighborhoods and streets unsafe. Trump is challenging all that. Trump has had a rate of growth in the first year that surpasses 8 years of Obama, where growth was anemic. So he really threatens the political establishment with this reform agenda.
Now, on the FBI and the Justice Department, it seems a lot of people are complaining. Look, 99.9% of the FBI are good, hardworking souls. But the upper echelon seems to be politicized. Has that always happened? I mean, you've been around from Nixon all the way to Trump.
Well, there have always been some political considerations, but the FBI was usually very careful to try to steer around domestic politics. I think I agree with you. The rank and file men and women of the FBI are law enforcement professionals that have no politics, and they are as disgusted as we are by the complete politicization of the FBI under Obama and frankly under Clinton, and to a certain extent even under George Bush. It's interesting that Robert Mueller serves Republicans and Democrats as FBI director, just as Robert Gates serves Republicans and Democrats as defense secretary. The people voted for a change of policy, but everything essentially remains the same. The way the FBI has conducted themselves in this Russian dossier matter is extraordinary. To put this in simple terms, John, the Justice Department and the FBI under Barack Obama used what they knew to be fabricated evidence as a legal rationale for electronic surveillance of the Republican candidate for president. Kind of makes Watergate look like small potatoes, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And now, Mueller is one smart guy. I mean, doesn't he realize the jig is up, and isn't it time to clean up any bad apples that we have, whether it's Justice or whether it's FBI? And it might only be 5 or 6 of them.
Well, if you look at his role in Uranium One, where he actually carries the uranium samples to Russia on behalf of the Clintons, he's up to his neck in this. I mean, the real irony is that the four guys who are most aggressively threatening the president, Mueller, Comey, McCabe, and Rod Rosenstein, are the exact four guys who oversee the cover-up in Uranium One, where essentially American rights to mine billions of dollars worth of uranium, a strategic, substance, is sold to a Russian Kremlin-controlled company, and the Clintons rake off millions while it's happening. And those four gentlemen basically let it happen, even though they know the Russians are bribing people.
Now, the FBI office in Virginia had opened up a file on Terry McAuliffe raising $700,000 theoretically from the Chinese, theoretically, to give to, who was it, McCabe's wife?
Yes.
I mean, what happened with that investigation?
It's an extraordinarily good question. Look, there seem to be different standards for Republicans than Democrats. Bill and Hillary seem to be above the law. Watergate, they told us, no person is above the law. That was the great lesson of Watergate. But the Clinton Foundation is not a charity. It's a slush fund for grifters. And it's been the vehicle for a multi-billion-dollar bribes where people could buy public policy. The Clintons skim off $500,000 in the Uranium One deal. $145 million in the Uranium One deal for their foundation. But they also bill pockets of $500,000 in a quick speaking fee, which is a thinly described bribe.
Now, there's also a great rumor that you talked to Julian Assad a lot. Have you been talking to him?
No, let's clarify this. I testified before the House Intelligence Committee that I have never spoken to Assange. I have never met with him. I did not speak to him in 2016. I had a limited exchange with the FLAC for WikiLeaks. I disclosed that to the committee. This past week, The Atlantic somehow got a snippet, a doctored a snatch of that innocuous conversation and published it like it was big news. There's nothing new here. All of this was disclosed months ago to the House Intelligence Committee. And, John, it exonerates me. It proves what I have always said, that I never had any advanced knowledge of the source and the content of the WikiLeaks publications, the WikiLeaks disclosures about Hillary Clinton. I did have a confirming source, a local New York journalist, who merely confirmed for me that Assange was serious and he really had the goods. He said that on July 12th publicly. Assange himself has said Roger Stone never tweeted or said anything I hadn't already said in public. I just followed him very closely. So this is a recycle once again. I addressed all these questions. No, I did not know about the WikiLeaks disclosures in advance. I did not share that information with anybody with the Trump campaign because I didn't have the information. No, I did not know about the hacking of John Podesta's email. I never said I did, but I did read the January 2016 disclosures about Podesta in the Panama Papers. I knew about his Russian gas deal, uranium deal, bank deal, and I predicted it would all become public, and it did.
Did Twitter shut you off?
I have been banned for life at Twitter. I had 450,000 followers, people who went to my website, The Stone Cold Truth, or who watched me on InfoWars every day at 5 Eastern, and I said something that upset that precious little snowflake, Jake Tapper, and they closed me down.
Was there a good reason? What reason did they use?
You have nut jobs like Keith Olbermann advocating the assassination of Donald Trump, and he is allowed to remain on Twitter. But I hurt Jake's feelings, and I'm banned for life.
Are you going to sue, or are you going to do anything about it?
Yes, I think there are for antitrust issues here, there are monopoly issues, there are First Amendment issues, there are service contract issues. I have lawyers. There's a lawsuit in the works. It may be a broader suit, though, because we're seeing this elsewhere as well. YouTube, Google, Facebook, a concerted effort to kneecap conservatives, Republicans, Trump supporters, anyone who is not on board with the mainstream media Democratic agenda.
Roger Stone, thank you for coming on, and I understand you're going to be in New York in the next couple of weeks. I look forward to seeing you.
Me too. Thanks a lot, John. Take care.
This is the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back.